Hello, everyone. Hello to the entire world. Good evening from India. This is Vanita Vandan Singh, and today I'm going to read an article which I just read a couple hours back. I bumped into that article. It's wonderful. It is from Get Pocket. I'm just going to share it because I care. The knowledge must be shared. It is a wonderful piece which I've come across, and I want to share it in my network. It's a wonderful, wonderful article. So there are two articles actually. So the first one goes like this: 5 pieces of essential life advice from seniors. Enjoy these insights from older Americans on the key ingredients for a good life and get inspired to do your own interview. Okay. It's hard to feel a sweeping sense of perspective when you're stuck in traffic, or feeling buried by work, or overwhelmed by family demands. But those are exactly the moments when some words of wisdom from your elders, the people who have been there, like the ones below, can come in handy. Each of these insights comes from a conversation conducted during the Great Thanksgiving Listen, an annual initiative from TED, that is TED Prize winner Dave Izay, and his team at StoryCorps that asks people to interview an older family member or friend during the US holiday weekend. By participating, you could unlock new stories about your family or gain a different perspective on historical events, while ensuring your loved one's story is preserved in the StoryCorps archive at the Library of Congress American Folklife Center. And you might just hear a piece of useful advice that will get you through a difficult moment. Think of hard times like bad weather. They too will pass. Arden Fleming, 15, calls her grandmother, Agneta Vulliet, her biggest role model. Vulliet, the daughter of French immigrants, grew up in New York City, and she says she first learned about independence when she went to boarding school. Vulliet left school before graduation to get married and ended up getting her high school degree at night school. While raising two kids, she studied art in college, where a professor was impressed with her determination and recommended her for a scholarship. Toward the end of the interview, recorded in October 2017 in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, Fleming asked her grandmother for advice. What I want you to know and keep in mind is that your 20s are very turbulent and that it does get better. It does get better. William says you want so much for yourself. You have such expectations. You have so many wishes to succeed. And there's a lot of anxiety that goes with how all that will take shape. I never want you to get carried away with how hard it seems, she adds. Growing up is a lot like the weather. Every time you hit the big storms that seem like they're going to snow, you wonder, it will change and get better. And then the sun will come out. The second one. Draw inspiration from all the people you meet. Bill Jans traveled the world as a journalist and wrote a column for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel about ordinary people who had shown remarkable courage. In a 2015 interview with his 14-year-old grandson Jasper Kashow in Fredonia, Wisconsin, the now retired Jans shared memorable stories from his days as a reporter. Of almost falling off an elephant into tall grass where a tiger was hiding while in India, and of crawling on his belly to avoid sniper fire in Croatia during the Bosnian War. But when Kashaw asked him about the person who had impacted him the most, Jan spoke of someone closer to home, a boy named Eddie. Help me see a little bit about what life is all about, says Jans. Eddie was 10-year old. He had written about whose leg was amputated due to cancer. No matter what happened to him, he never gave up, he recalls. I called Eddie once at home, and the phone rang and rang and rang. Finally, he picked up the phone. I said, Eddie, I was just about to hang up. Where were you? And he said, Bill, I was in another room. My crutches weren't near. So I crawled to the phone. I'm getting goosebumps. Jans often finds himself thinking about that conversation. He was only a young man, but he was teaching an old man to never give up. Jans said, I sometimes tend to give up and go do something else, and he helps me remember not to do that. Third one, love your work for the salary and for the people. Benny Stewart, 80, got his first job at age 7. He would run errands for his neighbors and get paid in chicken eggs. In a 2015 interview with granddaughter Venice Grant, 17, in Chicago, he talked through his many jobs. Stewart chopped cotton for $3 a day in 115-degree heat, used dishes, cleaned buildings as a janitor, sold insurance, and eventually found his passion as a social worker and later as a pastor. Grant asked his grandfather about what led him to these different occupations. I love talking to people, Stewart says. I've been told I have the gift of gab, so I can talk and I can grasp things real fast. I always took pride in being able to listen to instructions and pick them up quick. What lessons did he learn from his work experience? It taught me that I can have something of my own and provide for my family and get some of the things in life that I couldn't, he says. These themes echo those in an interview that Tori Noakes, 16, recorded with her grandmother Evelyn Trouser, 59, in 2016 in Flint, Michigan. Trouser worked in auto factories, first on the line and then as a welder. My advice to everybody in my family: learn to take care of yourself. Don't depend on anyone to provide you with anything, Trouser says. She refuted any notion that her jobs were dreary. I used to love going to work, she said. It's the people you're with that makes the job fun or not. As far as I am concerned, it's the people you're with that make things different. Yes. Next one. Find mentors who can guide you and challenge you. Alan Ebert, 73, reminisced about his working days in an interview with grandson Isaiah Ebert, 15, also recorded in 2016 in Flint. Ebert first worked as a welder in an auto factory when he was young and said the experience helped him once he entered medical school. If you understand how something works, when it breaks, you know what to look for and how to fix it, he said. Even the body is mechanical. I will repeat that. If you understand how something works, when it breaks, you know what to look for and how to fix it. Even the body is mechanical, like that. When Ebert spoke about his experiences as a doctor, he impressed one thing upon his grandson: look for mentors. The stuff you're doing right now in school, you're learning from people who knew something you don't know. Continue that throughout your life, he says. To find mentors, you should look beyond your bosses and teachers. Just develop relationships with people whom you can observe, even from a distance, and see how they accomplish things. Ebert says, the way I look at it in life, you probably make 95% good decisions and about 5% messed up decisions. A large part of our lives as adults is fixing the mess of those few wrong decisions. And you can minimize them by just having people in your life who will challenge you and make you think twice, who will say, well, that doesn't sound right to me. I can think of my father, my siblings, my mom. Make the most of less. The next one, make the most of less. According to StoryCorps, many people use the Great Thanksgiving Listen as a time to ask about family recipes. Along with step-by-step instructions, they receive a slice of family history as well as life advice. Some of the stories highlight one of the secrets to a life lived. Learning to make the most of what you have. Kiefer in Zone 28 talked to his grandmother Patricia Smith, 80, about her classic tuna noodle casserole made with canned tuna. When I was 18, I was married and I had a child and did not have an outside job. So I'd go to the library, bring home cookbooks, and try the recipes, Smith says. Back then, we were on a very limited budget. A pound of fish cost 69 cents. So I learned to cook a lot of things with that. Jackson Blumhardt, 16, interviewed his mother, Bethany Blumhardt, 38, about Ukrainian pierogies. She told him how her own grandmother would make hundreds at a time. She would tell stories about how they kept the Ukrainian people alive. Says Bethany Blumhardt. The Ukrainians grew potatoes like nobody's business, and as long as you had flour, water, and some oil, you could make the dough. Other stories point to the need to keep trying until you succeed. June Magad, 1887, spoke to her granddaughter Emily Sprouse, 33, about the recipe book that she's kept for 30 years. People say they can't make bread or biscuits or anything really, but you just have to learn the field. Magad says that comes by doing. So this article is from, I read it on getpocket.com, but basically this has come from TED Price Talk. So it's a TED Ideas. This post is from TED Ideas, and it was published on Get Pocket. And I am sharing it. I love to read. In school, I love to read, books, chapters when the teacher asks. So I am just continuing my love for reading. And this article is so strong. I felt like this article must be read or heard by anyone and everyone in the world. So I care to share. Here it is. Enjoy and reap the most out of it. Make the most out of it. Thank you. Good day. I Let's connect for the second article.